Hello and welcome to the Armenian News Network Groong Week in Review. We're recording this show on December 5th, 2021. I'm Asbed Bedrossian, and along with Hovik Manucharyan, this week we're going to talk about the following major topics: regional geopolitics, Turkmenistan-Iran gas swap deal, and the opposition fizzles out. Again.
And to talk about these issues, we have with us Benyamin Poghosyan, who is the chairman of Yerevan-based think tank Center for Political and Economic Strategic Studies. Benyamin was also deputy director of the Institute of National Strategic Studies at the Ministry of Defense from 2010 to 2016, and vice president for research at the National Defense Research University from 2016 to 2019. Hello and welcome, everyone. Hi, Benyamin.
Hello, Hovik. Hello, Asbed. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Benyamin. Great having you.
The topics in our show have been dominated by geopolitics, and I think that we cannot really escape this topic. So be ready for a very geopolitical focused show. Let's begin with, I guess, the negotiations on post-November 9 agreements that continued this week. Last week, Russian President Putin had set expectations in Sochi that a more detailed agreement would be negotiated and possibly signed this week, stemming from the announcement on November 26, which we discussed last week. And towards the end of the week, however, it became apparent that the Armenian and Azerbaijani sides don't fully see each other eye to eye. At least one point of the disagreement seems to be the status and naming of the transport routes that are supposed to link Azerbaijan with Nakhichevan. Towards the end of the week, on Thursday specifically, Secretary of National Security Council Armen Grigoryan dropped the news in an interview with Azatotsun, stating that the Commission on Unblocking of Corridors has not yet reached an agreement, and mentioned Armenia's opposition to any discussion based on, quote, the logic of corridors, unquote. This was followed up by news on Friday that Armenia's Deputy Prime Minister Meher Grigoryan flew to Moscow urgently for negotiations, but apparently the meeting did not achieve any new results. An expected meeting between Arad Mirzoyan and Ceyhun Bayramov that was slated to take place in Stockholm was also nixed by the Azerbaijani side. And the reason given for that was the planned visit of Armenian MPs to Artsakh. Benyamin, we covered much of this before. Azerbaijan and Turkey are very loudly proclaiming that they will get a, quote, corridor, unquote, but the Armenian side keeps rejecting this. And you previously stated that what Azerbaijan wants, regardless of what it's called, is basically a communication between Azerbaijan and Nakhichevan without any controls, whether it's customs, passport, phytosanitary, etc. So do you think that this continued pushback by Armenia is simply related to terminology? Or are they actually looking for substantive concessions, meaning sovereign control over transit through their territory? And if so, how realistic is this bargaining position?
Okay, my understanding is that terminology plays a role here, but definitely does not play a decisive role, because both Azerbaijani politicians and experts stated privately and publicly that for them, content is much more important than naming. So, okay, they told that if Armenia is concerned because of the term corridor, they may use whatever other terms Armenia is ready to accept, like a special transit zone, route, road, highway, elevator, or whatever else. But for them, they strongly believe that they really or definitely they are entitled to have this uncontrolled passage through the Armenian territory from Azerbaijan to Nakhichevan. And their logic is very simple, because they say, okay, guys, you are using the highway which passes through Lachin region of Azerbaijan into the Karabakh. And they say that Armenia itself accepted that Lachin is a part of Azerbaijan, because when we read the statement of November 10, 2020, it is written that Armenia will return Lachin to Azerbaijan until December 1st, 2020. So from Azerbaijani perspective, it means that Armenia accepted, at least on November 10, 2020, that Lachin region is a part of Azerbaijan. So if Lachin region is a part of Azerbaijan, the highway which passes through the Lachin region is a part of Azerbaijan and under the sovereignty of Azerbaijan. But Azerbaijan has no passports, customs, or any control on this highway, and there is only Russian controls on this highway. So what Azerbaijanis are telling They are saying nobody is telling that this highway or railway, which should pass via Sunni region of Armenia, should not be under Armenian sovereignty. It should be under Armenian sovereignty, as well as the highway which passes through Lachin region and connects Goris to Stepanakert is under the Azerbaijani sovereignty. But if Azerbaijan has no control on this road, which is under its sovereignty, we believe or we demand that Armenia also should have no control on the highways and railways through Sunni province, which again should be and will be under the Armenian sovereignty. So this is a very interesting and very delicate game of terms also, because sometimes we hear from our government and also from the Russian government, like this Russian Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Overchuk, who, when he met with Pashinyan in early November, he stated that there is an agreement that all routes or roads or highways should be under the sovereignty of those countries through which territories they are passing. But from Azerbaijani logic, the sovereignty and control has nothing or not, they does not mean the same thing. Like they say, okay, you may have the sovereignty over the road, but you may not have any passport or customs control on this road. And they are telling that,
Right.
okay, let's take or see the example of this highway which connects Goris from Stepanakert. It passes through Azerbaijani territory. De jure, it's under Azerbaijani sovereignty. De facto, Azerbaijan has no control over this highway. The same they demand from Armenia. So this is both the battle of terms and even I would say the manipulation of terms, because when like the average citizen hears that, okay, any road through Sunni, which theoretically may pass through Sunni region to connect Azerbaijan with Nakhichevan, this definitely should be under Armenian sovereignty. And average citizen may say, oh, wonderful, no corridor, it's under our sovereignty. But we should be very clear that theoretically, it may be declared that highway or railway is under Armenian sovereignty and passing through Armenian territory, but Armenia will not have customs or will not be able to realize customs or passport control on this highway and railway.
What I wanted to ask about the Goris Kapan, you mentioned Goris Kapan going through Azerbaijani territory. When I was watching the interview with Armen Grigoryan on Azat Utsun, that was the other interesting point, where he essentially claimed that Armenia has agreed to withdraw to the borders based on 1970s maps. I guess this was done in December 2020. But after that, he's proclaiming that Armenia can negotiate the demarcation and delimitation based on 1920s maps. So he's leaving room for Armenia to not agree, that eventually, like the final status of the Goris Kapan may not actually lie in Azerbaijan. But at the same time, we have Nikol loudly saying several times, and everyone in his cabinet saying that those are Azerbaijani lands. These seem to be two mutually canceling policies. And I cannot understand the reasoning behind this. Why would you sort of leave opportunity to sort of cast doubt on the status of the Goris Kapan highway, which would actually play a big role in this discussion?
So when Azerbaijan is telling that, okay, we have the right to receive this uncontrolled passage through Sunni province, they used two examples. First, the Goris Kapan highway before they put customs, and they put customs on November 11, I believe. Before that, Azerbaijanis were using also the example of this Goris Kapan highway, telling that, look, your prime minister itself personally declared that this 21-kilometer of highway is Azerbaijani territory, but you are using this territory to reaching from spot A in Armenia to spot B in Armenia without any passport and customs control. So that is why if we provided you such entitlements or such prerogatives, so please do the same in this unique region. But and it was interesting when in some my discussions with some Azerbaijani experts, when I directly asked them, so you are using this passage through Goris Kapan highway as a blackmail against Armenia? They told yes. In some points, this is a blackmail. If you want to have free access from Goris to Kapan without passport and customs control through this highway. Okay, give us the same possibilities via Syunik region. And then I asked them, okay, in that case, you all know that we are constructing the alternative highway. And theoretically, we may say, okay, put customs in Goris Kapan highway. We don't want to use it. And what does it mean? Does it mean that you will lose your leverage or the tool to blackmail Armenia? They said no, because there is a second tool. The second tool is a Lachin corridor. And they say, okay, let's assume that theoretically somehow we are also dealing with this Lachin corridor issue. I'm not sure how, but what then? Okay, will you drop your demand of having this uncontrolled access via Syunik province? And they said no, because we have the third leverage. This is so-called enclaves issue, like Tigranashen on Yerevan-Yeregnador highway and these three enclaves on Yerevan-Tbilisi highway. They said, okay, even if somehow, I don't know why, this Lachin issue will be solved, I mean, in the way that Azerbaijan cannot use these as a leverage or as a blackmail tool to demand us the corridor, then they will say, okay, look, either give us Tigranashen or open us uncontrolled passage via Syunik province. So all this means that the decision made on oral agreements, which was done in mid-December 2020, to give to Azerbaijani control this 21 kilometer of interstate Armenia-Iran highway, this was, put it mildly, a terrible mistake. Or in more political or geopolitical terms, this was a strategic blunder.
Right.
Because this opens the way for Azerbaijan to put pressure on Syunik. This opens the way for Azerbaijan to penetrate into Syunik. And no one understood until now what Armenia got, what profits Armenia got from this decision to actually, because the decision in mid-December resulted in actual closure of this highway for Armenia. Because currently, starting from November 11, Armenia is not able to use its main interstate highway connecting Armenia with Iran. And all these discussions that this alternative highway is 100% equal to this M2 highway, this is frankly speaking out of reality.
And you know what? With the Lachin corridor, it's guarded by peacekeepers. We know that Azerbaijan, whenever it's as a counterpart to its diplomatic track, it's always pushing the military. So if it believes that the Goris Kapan is its own and can exert military force, it will. So that's why it did so on the Goris Kapan highway. I think that in Lachin it cannot, because it's under the control of peacekeepers. So yeah, to me it underscores even more why would Armenia give such a huge trump card to Azerbaijan in this case, and it baffles me. But let me go to another point about these recent last week's discussions. The visit of the MPs to Artsakh was previously unannounced, and it seems to have been brought up right during the week of the negotiations. What's your opinion on the significance of this? And do you think it was like a negotiation tool? And could this be seen as a threat by Armenia, essentially, to maybe eventually to even recognize Artsakh's independence if these negotiations fail?
My understanding is that there was some agreement reached, I believe, either on November 8 or November 9 of 2020, just before the signature of this statement, that after November 10, 2020, the political leadership or highest political leadership of Armenia is not going to visit Artsakh anymore. And by telling about highest political leadership, my understanding is that they were speaking about three persons. First, Prime Minister, second, President, and third, the Speaker of the National Assembly. And interesting regarding this week's or past week events was the case that Azerbaijani media and also expert communities, they stated that they had an information that Parliament Speaker Alen Simonyan also was going to visit Stepanakert on December 3. And according to their logic, this was somehow the breach of this unofficial or gentleman agreement reached in early November 2020. And interestingly, from Azerbaijani point of view, so they canceled the meeting not because of the visits of some MPs, because, in last 12
that has happened before.
After the war, that's happened before. Some ministers visited, like Minister of Social Affairs and etc. But Azerbaijanis were very sensitive to the potential visits of president, prime minister, speaker of national assembly, which never occurred. And also they were very sensitive to the visits of Minister of Foreign Affairs and Minister of Defense. We all know that Minister of Foreign Affairs visited Artsakh in early January or mid-January 2021. And there was a very harsh statement from Azerbaijan, very tough reaction. And after that, almost 11 months passed, no visit of Armenian foreign minister to Stepanakert. And then we know that there was a one publicized visit of Armenian Ministry of Defense to Artsakh on November 6th. I mean publicized because there was an official press release from Armenian Ministry of Defense. And it was interesting that in this press release, they used the term Republic of Artsakh. Like Minister of Defense Arshak Karapetyan visited Republic of Artsakh. And we all know that after November 10, 2020, Armenian current leadership never used the term Republic of Artsakh. Never they used the term of Republic of Artsakh. Prime Minister does not use this term. There was no term of Republic of Artsakh in government program, which was approved after June 2021 early parliamentary election. So it was very interesting to see on November 6th in the Armenian MOD press release the term Republic of Artsakh. And again, there was very tough reaction from Azerbaijan.
Of course, the week after he visited Artsakh, Garabedian was sacked, right? He was removed as...
Yes, he was sacked on November 15, I believe.
Right. Is it possible that the two events are related at all?
I don't believe that's the only reason for firing Karapetyan was or could be his visit to Artsakh, but I also don't exclude that this played its role. So definitely it could be one of the reasons. But I don't believe that, okay, there was no other reasons and only the visit was the main or the only reason. But the fact that could be a reason of his firing or one of the reasons, this is for me, it's absolutely realistic scenario or realistic option.
So the visit of these MPs to Artsakh have, at such a sensitive time in the middle of the negotiations when anything could possibly derail these negotiations, right? I thought, is it possible that these have been pre-agreed with the Russians? Or alternately, is it possible that they are meant to throw the Russians under the bus, essentially, to create stress for them?
My understanding is that any visit for any official of Armenia definitely should be agreed with Russia. Not only because this is a good thing or Armenia believes that, okay, Armenia should agree with these type of things with its ally, but because of the basic fact that Russian peacekeepers are controlling the highway. And I'm pretty sure that if there will be no preliminary agreement, theoretically, Russian peacekeepers may simply not allow these people to enter Artsakh. And we should know very clear one thing. When you are leaving the Teh village of Armenia and entering the Republic of Artsakh or unrecognized Republic of Artsakh, in reality, you are entering the de facto Russian control zone. Here, Russian peacekeepers are making decisions. You may be the Prime Minister of Armenia, President of Armenia, or whoever you want to be. The decision makers are Russian peacekeepers and their commander sitting in Stepanakert, or maybe the commanders of their commander sitting in Moscow. So in any case, everything should be agreed and is agreed with Russians because they are the kingmakers now in Nagorno-Karabakh. Regarding why there was a statement that Alen Simonian, I mean the speaker, should also visit the Stepanakert, and then why the visit was cancelled. I'm not in a position to say that, okay, maybe the visit of Alen Simonian was cancelled because Azerbaijan itself cancelled the meeting between Mirzoyan and Bayramov. But it's interesting that Azerbaijanis are thinking that, okay, after our warnings, Alen Simonian decided not to go. And I have some doubts that by saying about warnings, they don't mean also the cancellation of meeting between Mirzoyan and Bayramov, but also this terrible assassination of Armenian citizen in Artsakh, because this also happened on December 2, I believe.
Yeah.
And we should also take into account one basic fact. All Armenians living in Artsakh, they hold Republic of Armenia passports. So this was not simply the assassination of Armenian living in Artsakh. This was the assassination or killing of Republic of Armenia citizen. And from that perspective, my understanding is that our government reaction, which was only the statement of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with the same wordings that, okay, this again proved that Artsakh cannot be a part of Azerbaijan, and we believe that this should be investigated and etc. etc. This is absolutely not enough, because this was a third killing of Republic of Armenian citizens. I mean, deliberate killing in last 2 months. First,
Yes.
this was a sniper shot in tractor driver in Martakert.
That's right.
Second, on November 8th, the young guy was killed near Shushi. And now this 65 years old person was kidnapped and directly shot, like in, I don't know, in Nazi concentration camps. Sorry for that term. And my understanding is that at least Armenian government should not only make a statement and say, okay, we call on Russian peacekeepers to do something or not to do something. Definitely, a criminal investigation should be opened by Armenian General Prosecutor or Prosecutor Office. And because we know that in Artsakh police identified the killer, like Azerbaijani soldier, I don't know his name or surname. Armenia should immediately now, he should apply to Interpol and issue a criminal warrant for arresting this guy for killing Armenian citizen. Otherwise, if simply Azerbaijanis will kill Republic of Armenian citizens and Armenian MFA will only make a statement that, okay, this proves that Artsakh cannot be a part of Azerbaijan, this will lead us to only this place when now Azerbaijan is killing one Armenian citizen per month. I'm afraid starting from January, they will kill one Armenian citizen per week. And this is going to nowhere.
Yeah,
and all these discussions or condemnations or speculations that look, Russian peacekeepers, they are not doing their job well, let's kick Russian peacekeepers out of there. This is, frankly speaking, a total manipulation, because one thing is absolute clear. If Russian peacekeepers leaving Artsakh now, for whatever reasons, because Armenia wants it, because Azerbaijan wants it, or because President Putin decides that he's not interested in Karabakh, we will have zero Armenians in Karabakh maximum within 2 weeks. So this is a basic fact, and I would like everyone not to forget this. Anyone who believes that if Russia will declare that, okay, my peacekeepers will leave Artsakh until December 31, 2021, then any other soldier from any other country will come to Karabakh until December 31, 2021 to protect Armenians from potential Azerbaijani attacks and Azerbaijani massacres. Unfortunately, this is pure science fiction for me.
So we know that both sides are supposed to meet in Brussels on December 15, and the meeting in Sochi was claimed to be a last-minute decision by at least Pashinyan himself. If it was a last-minute decision, do you think that it was done as a result of some arm twisting by Russia? Also, taking into account the amplified criticism of Russia by some Armenian politicians, is this something that Russia wants to get before the Brussels negotiations or the Brussels meeting?
I don't believe and I don't think that the Sochi meeting was some last-minute decision. My understanding is that for several months there was intensive preparations for the trilateral meeting between Putin, Pashinyan, and Aliyev, and there was a preliminary understanding that meeting should take place in the week between November 8th and November 12th on online format. Then Pashinyan, for whatever reasons, asked either to postpone or cancel this meeting. I'm not sure. His suggestion was simply to postpone or to cancel. But given the very tough Azerbaijani reaction immediately after this offer, I mean, the putting custom checkpoints on Goris-Kapan highway, then on Kapan-Chakaten road, and then this military escalation on November 14 and November 16, my understanding is that Pashinyan simply didn't say, okay, give me 1 more week. If Pashinyan option was give me one more week, definitely there was no reason for Azerbaijan to start this mini war on November 16. My understanding is that Pashinyan asked to cancel this meeting or postpone for several weeks or even several months. But then Azerbaijan launched this escalation and somehow forced Armenia to come to this meeting. So this was not a last-minute decision, because the meeting was in preparation for several months. Regarding the meeting in Brussels, as far as I know, this meeting was in preparation for some 1 month. Maybe the first idea that, okay, you both are coming to Brussels. So let's not forget that this is not special visit to Brussels to organize this meeting. This is a Eastern Partnership Summit. So in any case, both Pashinyan and Aliyev they were going to go to Brussels on December 15. As far as I know, somewhere since mid-November 2021, the EU floated the idea that because you will be in the same hotel and essentially in the same room, maybe we can organize also the meeting between two of you. And there was a preliminary agreement from both Armenian and Azerbaijani sides. After this failed, or not failed meeting, but the failed attempt to organize a meeting in Stockholm between two ministers of foreign affairs, let's see if, in any case, this trilateral meeting may happen or no. I believe it may happen, but most probably it will be again focused on humanitarian issues. And here again, what is the problematic for me and what is concerning for me, that Azerbaijan was very successful to insert these mines or landmine maps into these issues of humanitarian problems and prisoner of war issues. Because we all know that in the statement of November 10, 2020, there is nothing about any maps. Right. There is a very clear point that all prisoners of war and others should be freed. But now Azerbaijan managed to put this maps issue in the equal ground, on equal level with these prisoner of war issues. And in all statements from all actors, we hear that, okay, all prisoner of wars should be freed, but also Armenia should release all maps of these landmines. And this is another diplomatic failure for us, because what Azerbaijan should do and was obliged to do by this November 10, 2020 statement, he managed to transform it into some bargaining chip, insert into these discussions and into these narratives, this issue of maps. And now we have a lot of prisoner of war still in Azerbaijan, which is absolutely breach of November 10, 2020 statement. But besides that, some external actors are praising Azerbaijan for releasing some POVs and also calling us to release some maps. So this is another good or vivid example of diplomatic success of Azerbaijan after November 10, 2020, and diplomatic failure of Armenia after November 10, 2020. But again, my understanding is that most probably either before a December 15 meeting or immediately after the meeting, we will see another release of some Armenian POVs and another delivery of some additional maps of landmines to Azerbaijan.
Coming back to Russia, what do you think Russia wants to get out of the negotiations? Do you think that they're essentially taking a balanced approach and they're interested in simply allowing both sides to come to an agreement, or do they favor a specific outcome? And talking about this, also, I think I wanted to get your thoughts on the phone call that happened between Erdogan and Putin 2 days ago, where apparently the topic of the unblocking communications in the Caucasus was discussed, and the Kremlin highlighted that this point was raised by Erdogan himself. What do you think in general is essentially Russia's approach to these negotiations?
My understanding is that Russia clearly wants one thing. Russia wants stability. I believe Russia is, if not fully, but somehow satisfied with this new status quo, which emerged as a result of November 10, 2020 statement. And Russia wants stability here. This is his strategic goal, to foment or cement this new status quo, which emerged after November 10, 2020. And Russia has a zero intention to have any direct military confrontation with Azerbaijan. This we should understand very clear. Russia has zero intention to have any direct military confrontation with Azerbaijan. Why? Because it will mean automatically it will trigger acute political crisis with Turkey. And this is the last thing which Russia needs now, given all this turmoil which is going in Russia, along the Russia-Ukraine borders, in Belarus-Poland border, Belarus-Lithuania border. So at the end of the day, Russia still is able to navigate its relations with Turkey and come into some terms. So anything, any flare-ups, large flare-up in South Caucasus, it means additional problems or additional crisis in Russia-Turkey relations. Russia is not interested in this. He's interested in stability, even if not some final agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan, but some stability. And that is why also Russia is interested in opening up those communications, because Moscow believes, and in this case, not only Moscow, but also Brussels and Washington, that if Armenia and Azerbaijan will start to trade each other, it definitely will decrease the level of conflict.
Would it be true then to say that if Pashinyan actually made even more concessions to Aliyev at the cost of Armenia, but it, at least for the short term, it ended up in pacifying the situation and getting more stability, then Russia would go for that approach?
I believe yes, and especially for these communications or transit or corridor issues, my understanding is that Azerbaijan also knows that Russia needs stability, and I believe that this type of conversation may happen between President Aliyev and President Putin. Like Mr. Putin, I know that you don't want to hear about some problems in these mountainous regions. Like every week, someone is calling to you, or Pashinyan calling to you, telling, "Oh, Azerbaijanis are killing us, help, help," or your defense minister calling Shoigu. And we all know that Mr. Shoigu is a very busy man, but again, he has to spend some time to call Armenian defense minister, Azerbaijani defense minister, say, okay, stop killing each other, and etc., etc. We all know that you are fed up with this mess. But guys, the only way to stop this mess, please convince, force, or do whatever you want with Mr. Pashinyan, so he satisfy our two main demands. First, to start the delimitation and demarcation process, agreeing that the primary principle is the recognition of mutual territorial integration within late Soviet Union borders. Second, to provide us these highways and railways through Sunik without any Armenian control. And at the end of the day, maybe we are ready to accept the Russian control. Let's have Lachin Corridor 2. Okay, again, it will be part of Armenia, it will be on the Armenian sovereignty, but there will be only Russian control. And if I were, okay, definitely I could not be Mr. Putin, but if I would be one of his advisors, at least on corridor issues, I will say, look, why not? Why not have only Russian control in this corridor, which eventually will connect Azerbaijan with Turkey? Let's not forget, we are not speaking about highway and railway, which will connect Azerbaijan with Nakhchivan. This is a highway and railway which will connect Azerbaijan with Turkey. And if this will be purely under Russian control, it means additional leverage for Russia against both Azerbaijan and Turkey. So my understanding is that at the end of the day, Russia would not be against or even would be for to having these highways and railways passing through Sunik, connecting Azerbaijan with Nakhchivan and Turkey under its control.
Hello and welcome to the Armenian News Network Groong Week in Review. We're recording this show on December 5th, 2021. I'm Asbed Bedrossian, and along with Hovik Manucharyan, this week we're going to talk about the following major topics: regional geopolitics, Turkmenistan-Iran gas swap deal, and the opposition fizzles out. Again.
But doesn't this mean that Russia would agree to like essentially a ticking time bomb? Yes, temporarily it might have control, but in the future, if its powers are weakened, then Azerbaijan and Turkey would be more compelled to maybe even take direct control over it, saying, this is a strategic communication route or a critical infrastructure route, and use that as a pretense to invade Armenia.
Theoretically, what you are saying may happen maybe after 10 or 15 years. But my understanding is that at the end of the day, and as a Russian expert and also military experts, they are telling that, look, guys, we don't afraid of Turkey. So all which you Armenians are telling, and we hear some lot of statements that if Artsakh falls, it will mean the North Caucasus will fall, the second battle will have somewhere near Moscow, and etc., etc. From Russian point of view, this is total bullshit. They are telling, look, guys, don't overestimate the importance of these 2 or 3 mountains in Artsakh or even Armenia. Don't believe that if after 5 years Azerbaijani flag will be in Stepanakert, it means the end of Russian empire or end of Russian statehood.
Okay.
You think too much about yourself. This is first. They say that at the end of the day, for upcoming 100 years, Russia will be militarily much more stronger than Turkey. And if at the end of the day there will be some military clash between Russia and Turkey, we are speaking about military clashes, Russia will destroy Turkey within few minutes. So this is first. Second, if we are speaking about the potential increase of pan-Turkism ideologies in the Muslim-speaking republics in the Russian Federation, Russians are telling that sorry, but what has in common the 80,000 people living in Artsakh with the potential increase of pan-Turkism ideology in, for example, in Tatarstan? Because this pan-Turkism ideology is being spread through other institutions. We all know that there are this Turkish Institute for Culture Studies and etc. etc. So if you are speaking about pan-Turkism and the potential threat for this is Russia, yes, this could be a threat. But this ideology is being spread not through Artsakh. At least the Russians are telling this that, okay, this may be a problem for us, but sorry, Artsakh has nothing to do for it. So the case that in Stepanakert, Armenians are living or Azerbaijanis are living, this has nothing to do with potential increase of pan-Turkism ideology in Tatarstan or Bashkiria. So in any case, Russians are telling first, we will control this corridor, and if Turkey will behave him in another very proper way, we know how to damage Turkey. We can damage it in Syria, we can damage it in Libya. At the end of the day, we can damage it in Turkey itself. Let's not forget that Soviet KGB has very close ties with Kurdish PKK. And I'm sure that the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service and the Military Intelligence Service still have very quite connections with PKK. So from Russian point of view, they have a lot of instruments to punish Turkey, to put pressure on Turkey. And from their perspective, the fact that some 90,000 people living in mountains in Artsakh, this has nothing to do with potential threat which pan-Turkist ideology may pose for Russia. Okay, they say this is threatful, but please, as they tell us, explain how these poor Armenians living in Stepanakert, how they are preventing the spread of pan-Turkism ideology in Bashkiria, for example.
But if that's the case, why is then Turkey itself putting so much importance on this corridor? Is it just basically to appease Azerbaijan?
No, it's trying to reach into Central Asia.
My understanding is that Turkey thinks, or Turkey hopes, that if not now, but after 15 or 20 years, Russia will not be as strong as now. And maybe Russia will say, okay, guys, I don't need the South Caucasus, or I'm not able to keep the South Caucasus. But again, we are speaking about South Caucasus, not about Russian territories. My understanding is that Turkey believes that due to some demographic or economic projections or calculations, somewhere in the mid-21st century, somewhere in 2050, maybe Russia will not be strong enough to keep South Caucasus. But I'm not speaking about Tatarstan or Bashkiria. I'm speaking about South Caucasus. So from a Turkish perspective, maybe this is a first step in this long journey to
it's a very long
transform South Caucasus, yes, from Russian backyard into Turkish backyard. But this is a very long game, and frankly speaking, I'm not sure that even in the United States, think tanks or state institutions are able to calculate what may happen after 30 years. So this is a very long game, but it's very murky, frankly speaking.
Benyamin,
no one can say what will happen with Russia after 30 years, but also no one may argue what will happen with Turkey after 30 years.
Let's say we have achieved some kind of transport links or corridors by whatever name they call it. Let's say there is an equal status to the passage between Azerbaijan and Nakhichevan and Armenia and Artsakh proper through the Lachin corridor. Does this mean that Azerbaijan would be able to completely, without any control, arm Nakhichevan and Armenians could arm Artsakh?
No, definitely no, because first, we now can arm Artsakh only if Russia agrees to this. And if this corridor will be controlled by Russians, definitely Azerbaijan can arm Nakhichevan only through the consent of Russia. But there is a big difference. Nakhichevan has 10-kilometer land border with Turkey. So Azerbaijan or Turkey, they can arm Nakhichevan directly through Turkey, and neither Armenian nor Russia can do anything here. So there is a big difference. So because if the only way which connects Karabakh to anywhere beside Azerbaijan is this Lachin corridor, let's not forget that Nakhichevan has also border with Iran. But most importantly, Nakhichevan has a 10 or 9-kilometer land border with Turkey. So even if this corridor or this highway and railway that will be controlled only by Russians, which means that Azerbaijan will not be able to transfer any weapons from Azerbaijan to Nakhichevan, but nothing prevents Turkey or Azerbaijan to transfer weapons to Nakhichevan via Turkey.
And this week we saw escalated criticism of Russia by Armenian politicians. It has always been there, but it was probably slightly more escalated this week. It got to the point where the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs actually chastised Alen Simonyan. So there was an incident where Alen Simonyan essentially stated that Russia could have given Artsakh to Azerbaijan through the Lavrov plan. And the Russian Foreign Ministry responded saying that it is deeply regrettable that some Armenian politicians not only do not refute the absurd thoughts of the surrender of NKR by Russia, which does not belong to it, but also, in fact, associate themselves with such baseless judgments. Obviously, we also mentioned the Armen Grigoryan interview. And what I want to go back to that interview for is that in that interview, he took a pot shot at Russia by saying that the recent escalations in November, including the Goris-Kapan highway closure, including the mini war that happened on November 16, happened after Overchuk's visit to Armenia on November 5, and because of some statements he made. At least that was the sort of illusion that I got when listening to it. He didn't say that was directly because of it. He said like it happened after these statements. What do you think are Armenian politicians thinking about this and putting this blame on Russia? You know, what can that get us? And what can, you know, do you think that's a smart strategy?
Okay, my understanding is that government people who held the government position during the war and who are also part of government now, of course, they will do everything trying to divert the blame from themselves. Of course, I'm not sure, and I hope this will not going to happen, because definitely the number one or the top guys who should be blamed for this catastrophe which happened to us, this is the Armenian government, this for sure. And the current government, but also the previous government, but it's a totally different issue of discussions. Second, regarding the Russian plan or Lavrov plan, I am pretty sure that when the Russians put their offers to Armenia and Azerbaijan back in 2019, which itself were the slightly modified versions of co-chair options put on the table starting from 2007, when this more Madrid document was presented to both Armenia and Azerbaijan. I'm pretty sure that Russia told Armenia that, look, guys, in last 10 years, Azerbaijan bought the weaponry of approximately $40 billion. You bought weaponry in a much less scale. Why we didn't that, it's your own business. But we all know that the military balance is heavily in favor of Azerbaijan. You know that, we know that, Azerbaijan knows that, Turkey knows that. So there are either two options. Either we are accepting our offers, and most probably Azerbaijan hinted that they will accept this, that you are giving these 5 regions, and then after 1 year, you are giving some additional territories, you are allowing Russian peacekeepers in, you are controlling all Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Oblast, or Russia controls it. No Azerbaijan is entering into the former Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Oblast, and the Lachin corridor remains and much wider than current 5 kilometer. Or we are not able to prevent the large-scale war starting from Azerbaijan. And you know, we know, Azerbaijan knows, Turkey knows that if war starts, you will be militarily crushed. I'm pretty sure that this type of discussion happened. Okay, after that, the Armenian government decided that he should reject the Russian offers and then say that, okay, Russia gave up Karabakh or sold Karabakh or whatever else. For me, this is not rational, let's put it this way. I don't see even the drop of rationality in these discussions that, okay, Russia gave up Karabakh, or Russia surrendered Karabakh, or Russia sold Karabakh to Azerbaijan. Okay, we may say that Russia didn't prevent war, okay, that Russia was asking us to give the territories which we liberated during 1990 to 1994 and which were out of Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Oblast. But first, all suggestions elaborated by OSCE Minsk Group co-chairs, including United States and France, all suggestions, they clearly mentioned that territories outside Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Oblast should be returned to Azerbaijan. This was official position of United States, official position of France, and official position of Russia. If we believe that this means that this position means that who holds this position was going to sell or sold Karabakh, it means that 3 co-chairs, both 3 of them jointly.
All of them sold it.
Yes, it means that United States sold Karabakh, France sold Karabakh, and Russia sold Karabakh. But frankly speaking, I never heard about any Armenian politicians that Russia or the United States or France sold Karabakh, for example.
Benjamin, Russia did not prevent war or could not prevent war, would you say?
It's a very, very interesting and very tough question. My understanding is that after when Armenia publicly, and this was done publicly, and this was done in April 2020, I even remember the date, April 23, 2020, when Armenian Ministry of Foreign Affairs made a statement that Armenia rejects all, I'm emphasizing, all suggestions and options which were delivered to sides before May 2018, which means that Armenia rejected not only this real or fake Lavrov plan, but also Armenia officially rejected this OSCE co-chairs Minsk group options.
Right.
Like Kazan document and the updated versions. My understanding is that after this rejection, I am not sure that anyone could stop Azerbaijan from starting the war, because Azerbaijan has ironclad argument. Okay, Armenia rejected everything, which means there is no negotiations. So I have two options: either to accept the status quo for another 25 years, or start the war. Frankly speaking, my understanding is that after this Armenia's rejection, by the way, until now I don't understand the rationale behind this decision. No one explained me the rationale why Armenia did this, especially when after the war, the current government is telling us that when we came to power in May 2018, we immediately understood that Armenia has no army, that the Armenian army was a money laundering machine, that all this money allegedly spent on army, they were spent in casinos in Baden-Badens, and we understood that we have no army. Azerbaijan is a very strong army, and we understood that if war started, Azerbaijan will crush us. Okay, very well. In May 2018, you understood that Armenia has no army, and in case of war, will be crushed. And then Russia came and say, okay, this is the last chance. Either you are going to accept this offer, or maybe war started, or 99% war started. But then you told or stated that I'm rejecting not only Russian offer, but I'm rejecting also OSCE Minsk Group co-chairs offers. So what is the rationale behind this? Until now, I couldn't find it, and no one explained any rationale.
I want to talk about the Turkmenistan-Iran gas swap deal that was announced last week as well. In the efforts to overcome its political losses since the geopolitical power shifts in the South Caucasus since the 44-day war, Iran appears to be making a deal with Turkmenistan and Azerbaijan to remain a player in the gas pipeline infrastructure. To this end, it seems to have struck a gas swap deal with Turkmenistan to provide Azerbaijan with Turkmen gas via its territory around the Caspian. Also, there were some announcements about the North-South corridor running through Azerbaijan. No, not Armenia. I was interested to know, do these recent announcements by Iran indicate a change in Iran's stance on regional geopolitics compared with a month ago when there were almost threats of open military conflict on the borders? Or has this always been Iran's strategy essentially to hedge its bets on both, like Azerbaijan and Armenia?
Essentially dual railing or multiple railing its north-south options.
Okay, regarding north-south options, I believe months ago published a paper on that. I'm not an expert on logistics, but also I have discussion with some expert of logistics. As far as either we do not have Armenia-Iran railway passing through Syunik, or we are not going to have the absolutely new highway from Yerevan to Armenia-Iran border. As far as one of these two options are not materialized, every discussions about Armenia as a part of North-South international corridor, like China, India, putting their hopes on Armenia to become something very important place to bring Chinese or Indian goods to Europe and vice versa. This is science fiction and has nothing to do with reality. Because guys, let's look. Currently, we do not have even normal operating highway from Armenia to Iran. We have only this alternate, very small highway, which I can assure you that even the small logistic company will not bet its money to organize a small amount of freight transportation through this alternate highway, which after first snow may even be closed. So this is first. Second, about Armenia-Iran railway. We all remember Sir Sargsyan statement, autumn 2008, within few years, Armenia-Iran railway will be ready. 13 years passed, 13 years, nothing. And I'm afraid that this is not going to happen. I speak about direct Armenia-Iran railway, not potential Armenia-Nakhichevan-Iran railway, which means Armenia-Azerbaijan-Iran. I'm speaking about Armenia-Iran direct railway through Syunik. Now, this new highway, so-called Armenian North-South, like to connect Armenia-Georgia border with Armenia-Iran border. We all know that Currently, there is only very small section of this highway constructed in the south from Yerevan to Artashat, only 22 kilometers. From Artashat to Merli, nothing has been done. Yes, there are some discussions that potentially European Union will provide 600 million euros of loans to start the construction of Sisian-Kajaran section, but there is no 100% guarantee that this construction is going to be started. Second, no one have slightly idea how and who will be funded the section from Kajaran to Armenian-Iran border. And third, even by some miracle, Sisian-Kajaran construction starts in 2023, and Armenia funds money to start the Kajaran Armenia-Iran border construction. Again, construction starts in 2023. This new highway, which will connect not Yerevan to Iran-Armenia border, but Sisian to Iran-Armenia border, will be ready only in 2030. This is a base case scenario. 2030, we have highway which connects Sisian to Armenia-Iran border, new highway with tunnels, bridges, and etc. Base case scenario. What happens for the highway between Artashat and Sisian? Again, no idea. So all this hype, and this is a real hype, that there is some geopolitical struggle, and I had a lot of papers like United Kingdom or US or UK supports Turkey and Azerbaijan, or even Russia, UK supports Turkey and Azerbaijan, VS, India, China supporting Armenia in some geopolitical battle. It's something like a Game of Thrones or Avengers Endgame happening in Unique region for the control of these large-scale transit issues. This is all hype, unfortunately. Let's be very clear again. No international small-level transit is going to happen through directly Iran-Armenia if either Armenia-Iran railways is operational, which is not going to happen, or Yerevan Megri new highway is going to be operational with base case scenario will be somewhere in 2030 or even after 2030. This is regarding all this hype of Armenia becoming the hotspot of global logistical hub. Sometimes I have feeling that Armenia is thinks that Armenia is a Pacific Ocean, like this all huge transit which is going from China via Pacific Ocean to Los Angeles and coming back. This will pass through Armenia. Who knows how?
Well, so Armenian air provides like a lot of positive energy to all the goods that travel through it. So they'll be re-energized and be more higher quality.
And regarding Iran's policy, Iran was satisfied with previous status quo in Nagorno-Karabakh. This is 100%. Iran is not satisfied with current status quo, but Iran knows very well that he has no resources either to bring back the previous status quo or significantly impact the current status quo. So Iranians are smart guys. If you have not able to change the situation, you should adapt. This is a worse situation than before, but at least you should adapt to prevent it to becoming even worse or to becoming the worst. So, and what does it mean? Iran trying to adapt itself to the new situation in South Caucasus. So Iran has two basic goals in South Caucasus. First, South Caucasus should not be used by US and Israel for anti-Iranian activities. This is Iran number one goal. South Caucasus should not be used by US and Israel by any anti-Iranian activities. This is Iran's goal. How to reach this goal? First, we all know that the number one place which can be used for anti-Iranian activities is Azerbaijan. This is no secret that Mossad is very active in Azerbaijan, that they are recruiting Iranians, and some Iranians have been recruited by Mossad in Azerbaijan, then went back to Iran and killed top Iranian nuclear physicists. This is very clear fact, but this does not mean that Iran is going to bomb Azerbaijan or invade Azerbaijan. Okay, right. This means that Iran should do two things. First, they are interested to see more Russia in South Caucasus because they know very well more Russia means less US. This is from Iranian perspective. So more Russia in South Caucasus. That is why after Belgrade Revolution, Iranians were very concerned that maybe this is another color revolution. Russians will be kicked out from Armenia, which will be much, much more stronger US in the region. So more Russia and less United States and some relation with Azerbaijan, some pressure, like a policy of stick and carrot. Pressure on Azerbaijan, but also some carrots on Azerbaijan. Because okay, if you are not going and if you are not able to invade Azerbaijan militarily and prevent Mossad using Azerbaijan as a hotspot or launchpad against anti-Iranian activities, okay, what can you do? You should have some discussions with Azerbaijani leadership, trying to influence them at least to make Israeli presence a little bit less in Azerbaijani soil. So all this military drills, etc., 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 all know that Iran is not going to invade Azerbaijan. First of all, because Iranians know that Russia believes that South Caucasus is its backyard, and Iranians are not stupid to militarily invade Russian backyard. This is number one. Number two, even if Iranian goes crazy and decided to invade Azerbaijan, it will immediately trigger Iran-Turkey war. So we will forget, and we should forget that Iran invades Azerbaijan. But Iran can play a game with Azerbaijan. Sticks like military drills, some pressures, using Shia activism in Azerbaijan, blah, blah, blah. And carrots. Okay, you can use our territory to reach Nakhichevan, you can use our territory to receive this gas from Turkmenistan. And at the end of the day, Iran and Azerbaijan are part, and this is not a science fiction, they are really the part of this international north-south corridor.
Is the volume of the gas through that pipeline 2 billion, I think, cubic
Yes,
meters?
it's a 2 billion cubic meters as far as, yeah.
Is that significant? I don't know if that's big or small. And
no, definitely this is not significant. This is not covering even the 50% of Azerbaijan domestic consumption, because as far as I know, Azerbaijan domestic consumption is much more than this 2 billion. Armenia consumes approximately 2 billion cubic meters gas per year, but Azerbaijan domestic consumption is much higher. So I don't think that this could strategically alter the or Azerbaijani gas market or South Caucasus gas market, but I believe this is part of Iranians' policy of carrot and stick towards Azerbaijan. Yeah. Because again, if you cannot invade Azerbaijan or force Azerbaijan to kick out Mossad from your territory, you should speak with Azerbaijan. This is a basic.
It's enough to fill the press releases and to trigger a lot of the sort of armchair analysts, but I mean,
it also establishes pathways, right? It establishes the pipelines through which more can be done.
Yes, in any case, this is a stick and carrot policy, because this is good for Azerbaijan, but also any trade relations also give some leverage. And for example, we see this on China-Turkey relations, because a lot of people say, look, Turkey is pursuing pan-Turkey. This is dangerous for China, but why China-Turkish economic relations are thriving? The answer is very simple, because China knows if it has 10 billion trade over with Turkey, it has like 1% influence on Turkey. If China-Turkey turnover is 50 billion US dollar, it has much more influence. And China shows this in its relation with us, Australia, because when Australia demanded this investigation by WHO against COVID, and then signed it AUKUS, China say, okay, Australia, we are importing from you, I don't know, several billions of dollars of goods. We are not going to import you from nothing. And this hurted Australia very tough. The same is for Turkey. China will have much more developed economic cooperation with Turkey, because China understands that if you want to hurt the country in the current world, when there is no war between big or even middle powers, but there is a economic war. You can use the economic cooperation as a leverage. So stronger economic cooperation with Turkey, stronger leverage. The same is between Iran and Azerbaijan. My understanding is at least this.
And as the last topic on our show, let's cover the opposition and why apparently we are seeing continued failures to organize for more than a year now. Previously, we had reported that there was this new liberation movement comprised of the 5165 and Zartong parties, which appear to have been gaining some momentum on the streets, but it fizzled out essentially. Karin Donoyan, head of the 5165, announced that their party is pulling out and blaming it on not getting sufficient turnout on the streets. They also, I think, blamed cold weather. So Benjamin, is this yet another monumental miscalculation by the opposition? If you're starting a protest movement in the middle of November, shouldn't you expect cold weather? And since when is the cold weather a reason to stop protests, especially given the gravity of the situation that the opposition at least claims, they're calling Pashinyan a traitor, calling Pashinyan, all negative adjectives known to, Armenians. What's going on with the Armenian opposition? Tell us, please.
Okay, I'm definitely not an expert on our Armenian domestic politics, and I'm afraid no one is an expert, because it's so messy that I'm afraid even politicians don't know what the hell is going on. But my assessment will be this. Any political movement first of all, needs resources, needs financial resources, needs human resources, And in the country like Armenia needs also some external resources because Armenia is very small and there are much more influential players here. So if you want to launch a successful political movement, you should have three things. First, money. I'm not speaking about the billions of dollars, but at least you should have some money. Second, you should have some administrative or human resources. And third, you should have some connections or backing from external, much more influential players. As far as I understand, neither this movement of Karin Tonoyan nor the Zarton party, they neither have enough money and they don't have enough external support. For example, let's take another example. We all know this new party, Country for Living, which is de
Yes.
facto supported or funded by Ruben Vartanian. This
Aprelu
was
Yerki in Armenian.
yes, Aprelu Yerki in Armenian. I believe maybe the precise English translation is not Country for Living, but something like that. So I believe that, look, so the party was established only several months ago, but they successfully participated in some local elections. They even became part of coalitions in some communities. And I don't exclude that as a result of today's elections, even in some communities, they will win. And some strange or question may arise, okay, how is this the case? And these guys, okay, this was head by Mane Tandelian, okay, but Mane Tandelian was never the very high-level politician. Yes, he was, I believe, the part of Bright Armenians and led Bright Armenians and became the Minister of Social Affairs in Nagorno-Karabakh Republic for 6 months. Okay, now she came back to Armenia, and then, a quite successful party, people, money, posters, campaigns, etc., etc. Why? Because they have financial resources, Mr. Ruben Vartanian. And I don't exclude that they also have some external, if not support, but external backing, because we all know that Ruben Vartanian had also a huge network of connections. So the answer is this: if anyone wants to be successful in Armenia, it should have resources, external backing, and human resources. Okay, you may ask, but for example, second president of Kocharyan, he has a lot of financial resources. He is alleged friend of Vladimir Putin, maybe the most influential person in the world. And also he has human resources. In that case, why Mr. Kocharyan is not a prime minister until now? It could be a good question. And my answer is that because Mr. Kocharyan does not want to be a prime minister of Armenia now, because he is a quite smart person not to be a prime minister of such a failing country.
Meanwhile, there's continued pressure by the government to keep these leaders in Syunik jailed, who are traditionally painted to be sort of affiliated with the parliamentary opposition in Armenia. In the case of, for instance, Arush Arushanyan, the mayor of Goris, who has been in jail since mid-July, Lucine Avetyan, the head of the Karahunch community, and the sole witness on whose testimony the entire case is constructed, withdrew her testimony, saying that it was done under duress. In fact, previously she had written several different testimonies, and only after the third testimony, were the Armenian prosecution able to arrest Arush Arushanyan. Now she even withdrew that third testimony, which is very weird, but at the same time, essentially the Arush Arushanyan's lawyers are claiming that the government no longer has a case, yet he's still in jail. And last week, the news is that Ashot Minasyan was arrested. He's also known as Ashot Yergat, on charges that are more than a year old, but essentially trying to assassinate the prime minister. Incidentally, several other people are implicated in that case, including Artur Vanetsyan. None of them are arrested. None of them are behind bars. Minasyan's legal team's argument is that their client has been on good behavior for more than a year. And this failed to dissuade the judges from approving the prosecution's request for pretrial detention. So, Benyamin, is this random harassment of political opponents, essentially, targeted at wearing down the support for the opposition? Or is there more to this? We know, for instance, that both Arush Arushanyan and Ashot Minasyan fought during the Artsakh War, with Minasyan being a veteran of all three wars, and they led the voluntary detachments or paramilitary detachments. Could this be an attempt to rein in control over paramilitary units in Syunik?
Okay, starting from your last question, I don't think that this is an attempt to rein on paramilitary units, because even I don't believe that there are the paramilitary units in Armenia. So thanks God we are not a Colombia or Libya yet, first. Second, I'm not a lawyer and cannot comment on legal issues, but one thing is clear: having all these growing tensions in Syunik and deteriorating situation in Syunik region, all this mess with these criminal cases against mayors and even re-elected mayors, I can say that from a security point of view, my expert assessment is definitely does not help to make Sunik more stronger. Definitely all these criminal investigations against these former or current mayors of the Sunik region, because yes, the former and current re-elected mayor of Goris is in the jail. The mayor of Kajaran is in the jail. I believe the former mayor of Sisian, who was elected as a MP, he was freed, but then again is a jail. Definitely all this creates some non-healthy environment in Sunik, because we should understand that these people has their friends, has their circles, and all this creates also domestic animosity inside Sunik. And Sunik itself is a very small place. The population of Sunik is only 120,000, and now we are maybe hating each other more than they are hating Azerbaijanis. And this is terrible, and definitely this makes Sunik weaker, and which from security or strategic point of view, regardless of who did what from pure legal point of view, all these developments make Sunik weaker. And all these developments will not make Sunik stronger and will not bring Sunik to a better place. I'm speaking as an expert on security issues, not as a lawyer or as a legal expert.
All right, we'll leave it here for today. Thank you, Benyamin, and thank you, Asbed.
Thanks, Benyamin. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And that concludes our program for this episode of Groong Weekend Review. We hope it has helped your understanding of some of the issues from this previous week. We look forward to your feedback and suggestions for issues to cover in greater depth. Contact us on our website at groong.org, that's Groong, and on our Facebook page, ANN-Groong, or in our Facebook group, Groong-Armenian News Network. Special thanks to Laura Osborne for providing the music for our podcast. I'm Hovik Manucharyan, and on behalf of everyone in this episode, I wish you a good week. Thank you for listening, and talk to you next week.